From the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio in the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel, it's time for Senior Salute Radio. Senior Salute Radio is presented by the Estate and Asset Protection Law Firm of Victoria Collier.
And hello and welcome to Senior Salute Radio, presented by the Estate and Asset Protection Law Firm of Victoria Collier. I'm Mike Salmon alongside Victoria Collier. And Senior Salute Radio brings timely information to leading age boomers and seniors, addressing the issues of aging, caregiving, and maintaining quality of life. And today, Victoria, we're going to be discussing Your Business is My Business.
Absolutely, Mike. And I like talking about other people's business being my business.
All right. Well, we'll get right into it right away. And let's talk about baby boomers, because according to the stats, baby boomers own 63% of the businesses in the United States, but 76% of those baby boomers plan to get out of the business, transition it some way in the next 10 years. That's a lot of transitions and a lot of changes.
Absolutely. And it just makes sense because the average baby boomer is 62 years old. And so, they'll be in their 70s at that point. So it is incredible. And some of the things I'd like to talk about that is the impact that will have on our economy and our society and all of that. And to start off with, the fact is that 4.5 million businesses are going to be affected. That's what 63% represents. It's 4.5 million businesses. And when you put a dollar to that, that's over $10 trillion that are going to be changing hands from baby boomers selling their businesses or passing them down to the next generation over into retiring individuals. That's
a lot of changes and a lot of transition. Are we going to be ready for that?
That's a great question, and I don't think the answer is very good. 66% of business owners right now don't even know what their options are to transition. Many of them operate off the assumption that their kids will just take it over, or they operate off the assumption that their business is worth a whole lot more than what it actually is. Or on the flip side of that is that many of them believe that there is no market for their business and they'll just close shop. In addition to that, 78% of the business owners have no formal transition team to help them know what their options are, help them put a plan in place so that it is successful. And because, as with estate planning, which is what we do, right? This next number I'm going to give you, Mike, is very consistent with the overall society in the United States as far as estate plans, and that is 49% of business owners have no plan at all. No estate plan, no plan as far as a succession for their business. They just don't plan.
Well, that's not good, especially when you're talking about millions of businesses and there's no plan in place for them to transition out. How is that going? What are the consequences going to be of that?
There's so many consequences. We can't get into all of them today, especially the consequences to their ongoing families and their spouses. But the top 3 consequences we can talk about today is, number one is 70 to 80% of businesses that are actually put on the market to sell, they don't sell. They don't sell, which means that ultimately that person dies or just gives up and they don't get a return for all of those years they put in all that sweat equity into building a legacy that is not a legacy at all.
Just gone like that because of no planning.
Absolutely. Only 30% of family-owned businesses actually survive the next generation. So many of them go down to the next generation, but the next generation can't keep them alive, can't keep the business going in the same way that the generation before them had done. So of 100% that go down to the next generation, only 30 of those actually survive. And then the last of the top 3 negative consequences is ultimately as we regularly talk about, because it's my philosophy, and that is quality of life. 1 year after the business owner retires and gets out of the business, 75% of those prior owners regret it because they did not have what's called a life after plan.
First time I've heard you say that, life after plan. Let's break that down. What does that mean?
So a life after plan is, what are you going to do when you're not putting 80 hours in on the baby that you have birthed and, raised over the last 30 years, right? And so you can sit down with a business owner and say, so let's, pretend that's you, Mike. Mike, so what are you going to do after you sell the business?
Play a lot of golf, but I would think after a little while, that's going to get kind of tedious and boring.
Okay, except most business owners aren't going to say that second half of the sentence. They're going to say, I'm going to play a lot of golf. So then I'd have to say,
I knew where you were leading me, though.
And what happens after that?
Right.
Well, I'm going to play some more golf. What we'll hear more often is, well, I'm going to go out and build a house on some land. And what are you going to do all day? You're just going to sit there? Because you've been busy all day, every day. And you think your wife's going to be okay with that? And I know that was a very sexist statement just now, assuming that the business owner is a man and, there's a wife. But still, in today's world, in the baby boomer generation, most of them are men, and certainly the wives are supportive. But, so you're going to go sit on the beach because that's where she wants to move. What are you going to do? I can tell you that after my parents retired, my mother, they moved out from Texas, where I'm from, out to Georgia to be near grandkids. My dad was so bored. He was tinkering all over the place. And my mother's like, get out of the house, get away from me. I'm not used to spending this much time with you. I need my space.
It's hard on both of them.
It is very hard on both of them. So then he became, in his new neighborhood, basically the widow's handyman. He'd go and knock on the doors and say, is there anything I can do for you? Just so he can tinker in other people's houses.
What neighborhood would that be? I'd like to move into that neighborhood.
Well, he died
Oh, okay.
a few years ago. So now there's lots of widows who are wishing they had a handyman. But, but the point is, they haven't thought that far. They might have an idea in their head as to, hey, I want to get $1 million out of my business or $10 million out of my business. Number one, they haven't considered, what do you actually need to live on to maintain the same quality of life you have now? What value do we have to actually get your business to? Do you even know what your value is worth? And what are you going to do afterwards, to fill up your time? Things like that. So that's a life after plan.
I got you. Well, Victoria, I've known you for several years now, and I know you're, all about the estate planning and the asset protection, but you're also a certified exit planning advisor. And I know it all ties in together. So tell us more about that. What does that mean?
Well, a certified exit planning advisor is a professional, and that professional can be in different professions doing different things, but we all have the same goal in mind, and that is changing the outcome for that business owner so that they can have a more successful transition from their business into the next phase of their life, whatever that means for them. And so there are lawyers like me that are certified exit planning advisors. There's wealth advisors, there's CPAs, there's life insurance individuals, but also, in addition to all of those different professions that are often and should be part of that formal transition team, you've got one person in the center acting like a quarterback, if you will, that is guiding the whole process. And they help initially to assess with that business owner what are their personal, financial, and business goals. It may be the first time that business owner has actually sat down and thought about those things. Because so many of us business owners, Mike, you're a business owner, I'm a business owner, we get in there and we get things done, right? And we want results of what this task is based on what my business is so that we can, live the lifestyle we want. we don't really think on a deeper level or a longevity level of what are my real personal goals, financial and business goals. Then we want to take those and correlate them with what their business value is, because the impact of your goals actually can affect the range of the value of your business. You know, all of our businesses have a range of value. And depending on how ready you are to exit your business can move that dial up or down in that range.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Victoria. Can you unpack that a little bit and give us maybe an example of what you're talking about?
Right. So one small example would be when I'm looking at the readiness for someone to exit their business. And that would be, we want to look at de-risking any kind of liabilities, things that make the business not look desirable, attractive. And so in my business, my law firm, for example, do I have a good management team that can continue the firm even when the owner's not there? Okay. Do I have competent staff that can make sure the production is done and our clients are serviced even when I'm not there? So policies and procedures, things like that. Am I ready? That's part of it. You know, do I have enough insurance, for the various things I need insurance for?
Yeah, and all those things you mentioned about the business, too, just make it more attractive for the buyer as well.
Exactly. And so when you are more ready and when you are more attractive to a buyer, then that helps to maximize transferable value, which means that your business is more likely to be one of the 20% that in fact is sold when it's placed on the market.
I want to ask you about transferable value, but I want to back up just a quick second, make sure I'm clear and our listeners are clear as well. As a certified exit planning advisor, you talked about you're kind of the quarterback, and I love that analogy. You're not the person, though, that actually tries to sell the business for them. You bring in somebody for that. Correct,
in that you position it, you get the value of the business where it needs to be based on the personal, financial, and business goals.
Okay.
And you are then assisting the team find either the business broker or the investment banker who then places it out in the market, either a strategic sell, an equity sale, there's lots of different things. But no, you're not the one who is the broker.
Okay, great. Okay, you mentioned transferable value. How do you maximize it so you get the most value you can?
Well, that goes way beyond what we can talk about today, but you know what I'm going to do, Mike, is let's talk about that very topic on our next episode of Senior Salute, so I can dedicate the entire session on just how can we maximize transferable value.
Okay, sounds great. So we'll bring in another expert into the room that can really talk specifically about that. For those that would like to, and we'll talk, and I think that's going to be scheduled to debut in September of 2019.
Right, absolutely. So, on our regular Wednesday at 1 o'clock, September 11, 2019.
All right, so it'll debut that day and be available anytime after that, so we'll keep an eye out for that as well. For those that would like to find out more about this and maybe have a conversation with you about this or the elder care, asset protection, all the other things that you take care of at your firm, how can people reach you?
Our phone number is 470-235-7848. That's 470-235-7848. And our website is elderlawgeorgia.com. That's elderlawgeorgia.com.
Any final words, Victoria, about talking about your business is my business, as we titled the show? Any final parting words?
Well, I would say, Mike, that most baby boomers don't want to have a conversation about exiting their business because they don't want to stop working. And I think the key is that exit planning is really nothing different than good business strategy planning. That's it. Whether you decide to stay or go in your business, it's how can we best position your business to be attractive so you can decide, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Because there's 5 things that are going to cause somebody to leave their business unintentionally. We've got death,
right,
divorce, disagreements with partners, disability, and I can't remember the fifth D at the moment off the top of my head, but those are things that without even wanting to exit your business can happen, right? And so it's always good just to have good business strategy.
Yeah, not everything's under your control.
Exactly.
And it's not as simple as just, okay, I think I want to sell now, play some golf, and I'm going to call a broker. No, if you plan, everything just kind of helps fall into place.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to remind everybody that you've been listening to Senior Salute, which is a bi-monthly show bringing timely information for leading-age boomers, and it's available 24/7 online by going to businessradiox.com, select the Gwinnett Studio, and then just click on Senior Salute Radio.
I want to thank our listeners. We salute you.